Okay, so we're going to look at super simple CSS animations in this video, and we're going to look at how to do things like this and how to do other effects. So for example, if we wanted to fade this in, etc. Really easy. And there are plenty of effects that you can grab from the Animate.css library. You can see them here as well. So before you get started, head over to Animate.css and we'll take a really quick look at how powerful this is using CSS animations, CSS transitions, and we'll look at including it onto a page. And if you're very new to CSS or very new to this, we'll look at also pulling in something like jQuery so we can dynamically add classes. For example, when someone hits a button or does something on the page, you could then animate something off the back of that. So let's go ahead and get this installed or copied over to our working directory, and we'll look at how this works. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is download Animate.css. Fairly straightforward. You can either hit this link here, or if you check it out on GitHub, there is the option for a custom build using Grunt. Installing and using Grunt's beyond the scope of this video, but if you do want to keep this file as small as possible, for example, if you don't need all of these animations, which I'm sure on a project you wouldn't need all of these animations, you can use Grunt to custom build. You can pick apart the CSS file yourself for a custom build, but obviously this is a much quicker option to do that. So otherwise, we get some basic usage instructions here, but we're just going to have a look at this very quickly. So I've got Animate.css inside of a CSS directory in the directory I'm currently working in. I've also got an index.html file with a basic document layout here, nothing special at all. We'll link in our Animate.css file and we'll link in our main.css file in a moment, but this is the page that we're going to be working on. So really importantly, I'm going to bring up my Chrome development tools so I can use the console and I can inspect things on here as well, just to look at generally what's happening here, just so we can understand how this works. And inside of my index.html page, I want to include in these two CSS files. Main.css at the moment is blank. This is where we're going to be creating a little box that we can test animation on. So to link in Animate.css, it's in the CSS directory and it's called Animate.css. And let's do the same thing here for our custom style sheet as well. So first of all, let's dive into Animate.css and see how this works. Basically what we've got is we've got this class called animated, which always needs to be included on the elements that you want to animate. That just sets things up here, basically sets things up. And down here then, you can see that we've got some keyframes here for different effects. So we've got a bounce here, and down here we've got basically the standard properties that we would add on the bounce class, and that uses the animation here. So essentially we've got the keyframe set up here, which defines how this moves, and then down here what we're doing when we add this bounce class, we are then actually making use of this predefined keyframe that we've done up here, or not we've done, but the author of this library's done. So there's quite a lot in here. You can take a look. I'd highly suggest you do take a look through the code just to understand each of these. However, at this point you can see that there is a lot of code in here. So we've got over 3,000 lines worth of code, and this is really going to slow down downloading this if someone's on a slower connection. So I'd highly recommend that you only use the animations that you need. If you don't need animations at all, that's fine, but you probably wouldn't be watching this video if you didn't. So take a look through the Animate.css file, really good to have a look at. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build an element on the page which we're going to add some of these classes to, just so we can see how this works. So let's create a class, a div with a class of box. We're not going to put anything in this, but we're going to add some basic styles to it just here. So I'm going to add a background color to this, and I'm going to choose cornflower blue, which is a really nice blue color. And I'm going to add a height here as well of 100 pixels and a width here of 100 pixels. And I'm going to give this a margin of, say, I don't know, 60 pixels, just to bring it away from the edge of the page so we can see how some of these work. Okay, so let's take a look at the basic usage of this then. We've already got a class on this element, So if, for example, we wanted this to fade in, we can say animated fade in. So yeah, we've got like a basic fade in effect. This might be quite useful. Doesn't probably warrant pulling in the whole library for a fade in effect, because it's quite easy to do just normally without pulling in a library like this. But then we have more interesting like hinge, which is quite a nice effect. Really depends on how you need to use this kind of thing. But it really brings to life elements in the sense that this really looks like something that would be created with a Flash animation years ago. So it's really great that we can do this now within the browser, do things like this within the browser. It just means that you can add that extra special effect to your site if it's needed, which is the key point here. But yeah, it's really simple to do, and you know, you're doing this all with CSS. There's no JavaScript involved here at all. Saying that, if you do need some kind of trigger for this, it probably might be worthwhile using JavaScript if you needed to animate something when something reacts. Now, I'm not saying include jQuery on your page just to do link clicks. You can do this so much easily just without a library like jQuery being pulled in. But if you're using jQuery on your site already, maybe you're using it quite extensively, then this might warrant just pulling this in and using this. So for those of you that are beginning with web development, let's take a look at how we might pull in jQuery to be able to, say, click a link and animate something. So I've created a script element at the bottom of my page here, just before the ending body tag. And what we're going to do is I'm going to pull jQuery over from Google hosted libraries. It's basically just Google's CDN way of hosting a library, so it's downloaded a lot quicker and cached for most users. So this basically means serve over HTTP and HTTPS, but for the purpose of being on local, I'm just going to change this to HTTP. So over on our page now, we'll have jQuery loaded. Let's go ahead and just remove the classes on here. And I'm going to be working in the console just down here, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And I'm going to type in some JavaScript here just to add the classes to this in order to animate it. Then we'll look at just clicking a link to animate something. So we use our jQuery selector, and obviously that's box. And then we can use the add class method to add a space separated list of classes that we want to add to this. So I'm going to add animated and then hinge. So once we do that, that'll add that to this. It will return the element to us here. But now you can see that's animated. So fairly straightforward. Now, this would normally be done in a separate file, but I'm just going to do some on-page JavaScript just down here, and I'm going to target something that I want to click in order to add this animate effect. So let's create an anchor down here, and I'm just going to call this animate, and let's give this a hash as its href element. And let's add a class on here, so animate me, for example. So down here, what we can do is we can target that with our jQuery selector, so animate me, and we're going to say on, click, and then we have a closure just here. And then within this, what we can then do is we can say something like this dot, and then we can add our class. So we can say add class. This obviously refers to this here. So we add class, animated, hinge like so. Really easy, straightforward. If you know jQuery, this will be easy for you. So when I click animate, that will then, and for some strange reason I added this on the actual animate link itself. So I want to change this to box. There we go. Really easy. Looks cool, and if you are using jQuery on your page, then you can just easily hook this up with the really straightforward functionality of building things here. And there we go. You've got CSS animations on user interaction. So that is basically the Animate CSS library. There's so much you can do here. And obviously the front page of this gives you a really good demo here. You can just click whatever you want and just preview each of these. And the names given here are the names you need to use. So for example, if you did want flip out X, all you would have to do here is change this to flip out X like so. Head back to your page, and there we go. Done. So that is Animate.css. Really, really cool library. go ahead and check it out and download it. Remember to do a custom build if you're not going to be using all of the transitions and animations on there, because it really is going to be a waste of downloading all of that. And again, make sure you don't include jQuery just to trigger these animations. You can do that just as easily with raw JavaScript.